Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
Welcome to my podcast, where we are going to talk about a lifestyle with dogs and throw in a few life lessons along the way. Whether you're a hound hunter, bird dog enthusiast, running setters, pointers, retrievers, or a flat-out running dog junkie, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Heath Hyatt, a certified law enforcement canine trainer with over 3 decades of personal and professional training and handling experience. It's time for me to pay it forward. So grab your leads, lace up those boots, and come and join me on this lifelong process of teaching, training, and learning. Are you looking to unlock your dog's full potential and give them the best nutrition possible for peak performance? Then look no further. Inukshuk has what you're looking for. Inukshuk's nutrient-dense formulas are crafted to keep your dog's energy high and performance top-notch. Packed with premium proteins and essential fats, Inukshuk delivers the balanced nutrition your dog needs to thrive. From hunting dogs to police canines, Inukshuk is trusted by professionals. Give your dog the power of peak performance with Inukshuk professional dog food. Welcome to another What's Up Wednesday, where we're going to get all of our canine training know-how, right? Y'all get tired of hearing that because it's kind of getting cliche to me. I have to change it up a little bit. This was going to be short and sweet. I'm going to catch you up on where we're at, and by the time this airs, we're like 3 weeks behind. So just bear with me. I got to get where I'm more on track with what's going on, like on a weekly basis. So we are into September. Training season is wide open. It has been ridiculously hot and humid here. I have been keeping up with all of the temperatures and the humidities every morning when I go out. And I don't think, I'd have to go back through my notes, but I don't think it's been under 90% humidity. Now, it's been down in the 50s a couple of days, and then, of course, it crept back up to the high 60s. It was mid 60s this morning, and the humidity has been horrible. Temperatures have not been great. You'll get a couple days of cooler weather, high 70s. This week it's supposed to be back down in the 70s sometime, so let's hope it gets there. But just catch you up on what's going on with the dogs. I got a couple dogs out of service right now. I haven't been hunting Spook Kate much at all, just maybe once a week, twice a week maybe, depending on how many days I get to hunt. But a couple weeks ago, so 2 weeks ago, I had just them and 2 of the younger dogs, which is Sassy and Lady, and struck a bear. They go all over the mountain, off the mountain. I think Garrett actually got them packed up, and then they went on off the mountain way low, turned and went into towards some houses. But anyway, Hot Rod got them packed, and I ended up coming out there with 3 beat up dogs. Bear just did not want to climb, and time we could get in there and get to him, he was underneath the blowdown, and when you'd pull a dog out, create a hole, he would come out of that hole and he'd run you off. And it took us a few minutes to get the dogs caught up. But Spook is one of my dogs that usually does not get hurt. He's just that dog that stays out of the way, does what he's supposed to. Sassy, she was okay. Kate got bit down through the top of the head, but it didn't bust anything, just the holes. And Lady, my young dog, she got a couple places in the rear end. So we got out of the woods, and Garrett, of course, was there. So we're shaving dogs and stapling dogs and doing, the things that we do. Well, Spook acted okay. So I got home that evening, or that day, and he went to come out of the dog box, and he was really slow. And I thought, well, they come down through a big rocky hollow. And when I say rocky, I mean like nothing but rocks. And I'm like, well, maybe he just got, tangled up. So when I come home from hunting, I feed. I don't care what time of day it is, 10 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever time it is, I'll go ahead and feed. Because if I'm going to hunt the next day, I want them to have a chance to clean out and get everything out of their system. So I had fed everything, and all my dogs would go wait at their pens when I'm feeding. Well, Spook wasn't down there. He usually go get in his pen. So I fed everything, cleaned the pens, and I looked, and he's still up in the top of the yard where the truck's at. So I go up there, and I'm like, come on, and he's walking really, really stiff. So anyway, I look at him, and nothing stands out to me. Put him up. He does not touch his food. He goes straight in his box, lays down. So the next morning, I get up and I go check on him, and he has like a knot right where his thigh would run into his belly. And I look at it, and I'm like, well, it don't have a puncture wound in it. So I feel it, and it's it's like it don't have anything in it. So anyway, that was Friday. So Saturday, I'm hunting. No, I'm telling you wrong. That Friday evening when I get home, I text Garrett, and I'm like, hey, give me some advice here. So first thing he says is a hernia, and I can't pronounce it correct, but it's inguinal hernia. So it's where their stomach lining gets cut and stuff starts coming out. So I sent him a video, and he's like, hey, you got to get him in surgery. So he told me to try to push it back up in there. Well, it wouldn't go. And I'm like, I'm not sure, Garrett. Anyway, so we made arrangements to have him put in surgery the next morning. So I take him to the vet, put him, they take care of him, and pick him up on my way. Well, I pick him up Saturday that evening, later that evening. And sure enough, it was a hernia, but the fat tissue had come out, but nothing else had. It was blocking the hole. So they had to go in there and trim that because it already started to die. They had to trim that and sew the hole back up and take care of everything that way. So he's doing great now, but he's out of service till October. So he's, I'm not even going to try to hunt him. And Kate, I'm still giving her medicine, trying to get some of that infection cleaned up and stuff for her. So I've really been hunting the 3-year-olds and the 2-year-olds and the 1-year-olds. So I've got 2 of each, 2 3s, 2 2s, and 2 1s, and the puppies. I'll tell you about the bee litter here in a second. So that's kind of what I've been hunting. I don't like my dogs hurt. I don't like it at all, and it scared me with Spook. Like I said, he never gets he never gets tore up, and there was no external wounds at all. I don't know exactly what happened there or how that happened, but he may have got rolled up trying to get out of the way. I don't know. But anyway, he's taken care of, just out of service. Kate, she's going to be out another week or so herself, and we'll just have to go on. So, been hunting the bee litter, and I don't remember the last tidbit of information I give you guys, but I was splitting them up, and I ended up getting Briggs's first bear was a walking bear. I may have told you that already. So that was the very first bear he'd been on. It was just me and Hot Rod hunting that day, so it was just 2 of us. The dogs walked that thing for 2 hours. He did a really good job, stayed with it until I called him off crossing the road. I was really pleased with that. Him being his first one and him staying. Of course, the bear was not rough. It was one of those bears that we all like to be on. Just, don't crowd him. He don't crowd you, and we go on about our business. So I took him. He made a race the next day or the next couple of days after that. He made a race. Did good. He wasn't treeing, but he was at the tree. And I brought Bronx. No, I had, so he made that race. And then the next time I took him's the one that got on the ground, and him and Bridger were both in on it. But I think because of all the commotion and everybody trying to get their dogs and do this and do that. And I want to talk about getting your dogs here in just a second. with all the commotion, I don't know if they knew exactly what was going on. So he was kind of in and out, in and out, in and out. Bridger was the same way. It's like, what's going on here? So got them caught, and they got out of the way and everything. So I decided that I was going to hunt broncs and brigs. I'm breaking it down. I went from 4 to 3 to 2. And it's not that I'm not going to hunt them, but I'm going to get these 2 started really well and then start adding to it, because the days that I've taken all 3 of them, which is just a day or 2 or 4 of them, just a day or 2 here and there, I'm just roading them, getting them out, exercising them, handling them, doing that type of thing. So I took broncs a day or 2. No, it was before that. I took broncs before that and had a really good race, but he only made about half the race. Had to go back and get him later on. I'm not upset about it, but I expect him to make the race. He's got good gear, running gear, put up right. Shouldn't be an issue. So then the next Saturday, I took him and Briggs again, and we caught another one on the ground, backed up against a bunch of ledges. And when I started walking in the tree, I'm like, they're looking at it, because I thought they were treed. Because Briggs was just barking every breath, just yo, 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 yo. And I'm like, well, it's setting low or whatever. So I get in there, and I'm having to, kind of go around the rocks and stuff. And I'm looking up in the trees, and there's just a couple small. I'm like, something's not right. Well, I step up on the rock to look over, and the things were literally right up underneath me. So I spook it, and it goes out of the rocks. And I start trying to catch the dogs at that point. So let's talk about catching dogs. And I don't know if I've had this conversation with you guys yet or not. I know I've had it with a couple of listeners, because we've texted back and forth or messaged back and forth. But if I can see my dogs and they can hear me calling their name, I have no problem toning or stemming them if I need to, because then it's not because you're running the bear and you're doing something wrong. It's because you hear me and you see me and you're not complying with me. You're not doing what I want you to do. So it took me a couple tones on that one to get Hootie, Hart, and Attica come on. And when I toned hard, Attica come to me. And again, they're 15 foot away, bait up, and I'm calling them to me. So I get my hands on the older dogs, because I just had the 4 older dogs and then the 2 puppies. So I think it's very important. I did the same thing on the other bear that got roughed up some dogs. If my dogs can see me and hear me, usually a tone's all I got to do. When I start toning them, they know that means come here. And even though they're in an excited delirium, they're jacked up, they're in prey drive, they know that means come to me. So I haven't had the issue of having to stem them off of it. And if I had to stem them, I'd be very cautious about that. And I'll tell you why. So one of the guys that I've talked to has a young set of dogs, and he was getting into some country that he didn't need to be in. So he started stemming the dog. And the guys, he's a long way. It's not like they heard him. They didn't see him. They're a long way away from him. And he starts stemming the dogs and stems them. And it took a lot to get them to stop. Well, when he went back to hunting the next time, the dogs didn't want no part of it. They're young dogs too. Let's just clarify that. They're 2 years or younger. And it took him a while to get them straightened back out. So there is a difference there to me. For my dog training and the stuff that I do, there is a difference there. If they can see me and hear me, they know what that's for. It's not for pursuing the game. It's because you're not listening to what I'm asking you to do. So just be careful when you do that. Everybody has their own way. And like I said, my way is not the way. It's just a way. It's just the way I do it. And you guys know I'm very cautious. I'm very, I don't use the stem unless it's absolutely necessary. And that's not a whole lot. That's not very often. So just wanted to put that out there and give that to you. So I hunted today, and again I hunted the young dog. Y'all heard me say this last year. This was my B squad, and I actually going to have a C squad before it's over with. But I'm hunting my B dogs. My 2-3-year-olds, which is Hootie and Hart, and then my 2-year-olds, which is Axe and Attica, and then I've been hunting Lady and Sassy, who are my 1-year-old, and they're 1.5. I think Sassy's 16, 17 months old, and Lady's 14 months old. So today I took a little chance, and I took 2 more dogs, which was Briggs and Bronx. Like I said, I typically don't take 8 dogs, but we had plenty of help today, and I had some help with me. So I was like, let's just go ahead and take them. And I'm glad I did, because today the dogs struck. It was a really good track. I turned the puppies out. And let's talk about this real quick, because I don't know how you guys pack or how you do things, but just going to give you some insight to me, what I do and why I do it. So if I've got young dogs, I try to put them in the middle of the pack or the front of the pack. I don't turn them loose last and say, okay, if you make it, you make it. I want them back dogs. If they get sidetracked or get behind, I want them back dogs to pick them up. So I'm pretty strategic on how I pack my young dogs. So I turned my 3 dogs off the truck, the rig dogs, which was Hootie, Hart, and Attica. As soon as they started opening, I put the 2 puppies, Bronx and Briggs, in. And then I turned Lady and Sassy. And I'll just tell you, like, Sassy will flat out scorch a track. I know you guys heard me talk about her last year as a puppy. Not treeing the best with the leaves on. Today she treed really good, but the bear was sitting down in a low fork where she could see it. She was sitting there just a calking. But as far as the track's concerned, I don't have to worry about her. You need a track straightened out. If it come to the road and shot back in where, in its track, you can throw her in there and she's going to line it out in just a second. Lady's coming on really good, but for a 14-month-old dog, expectations aren't super high, but I'm very pleased with what she's doing. But anyway, I put the 2 puppies, the B litter right behind the start dogs. And then I packed the 2 dogs that do really good. And then I turned Axe loose last. I had him in the box, and he was kind of my cleanup, like your cleanup hitter in baseball. Like, he was my cleanup. I sent him through. He gets a lot of mouth. So he's usually the last dog that I turn loose, because sometimes he gets a little loose mouth, and I don't like that. So a lot of times I'll put him in last. And like I said, he'll pick up everything that's straggling in between. But didn't have that problem today, but they made a really good race. Briggs has made two nice races. This was the best race that he'd made. And then Bronx, this is the first time he made a full race. And like I said, it was a good race. It was a couple miles off the side of the mountain, down into a valley, across the top of the mountain, down off the side of the mountain, down into another valley, and down the creek. So was really pleased with both of them just making the race. Now, they weren't treeing when I got there. When I tied them up, and they were the first 2 that I put my hands on. When I tied them up, Briggs started barking, but he was barking because everything else was going on. So, step one, baby steps. Just, I got to get them there first, get them, make the races, get them there, and then we'll work on the other stuff as it goes. But so that's kind of where I'm at. It's been a decent year, I will say, and I told somebody this yesterday or the day before yesterday. I have seen 3 mangy bear. I can't tell you that it was sarcoptic mange, but I have seen 3 bear in really poor, not deathly poor conditions, but very thin-haired. Just didn't look good. Today, the bear that we treed was very healthy, probably the healthiest bear I've seen all year. So I was pleased with that. But I have seen 3 mangy bear. So that's kind of how my season's going. Hoping to end it on a positive note. We've got the biggest part of September left. And by the time this drops, it's probably going to be mid to end of September. So I'll catch you guys up the 1st of October. I've got a lot of stuff planned. the end of this month up into the 1st of October. So we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop with what's going on. I just got back from New Orleans. I went to the HITS conference, which is Handler Instructor Training Seminar. It's always great to go and, reset through some classes, set through some new classes, connect with some of the guys that have helped me. A lot of those guys have been on this podcast. You got, Jeff Barrett, Jeff Shetler. Let's see who else. I know I'm probably forgetting some. But anyway, it's good to sit through the classes and relearn or learn some more. But one of the things, I was sitting through Justin Rigney's class on NEPOPO, which is negative, positive, and it looks at the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. And I've sat through this class many times, but one of the things that he said that I've got to figure out how I'm going to balance this, but it made complete sense to me. So in the law enforcement, in the canine world, one of the hardest things to do is get your dog to out off a decoy or a bite. The out is always the thing that everybody struggles with, or most everybody struggles with. And he was talking in class about, he was showing a video of how this one dog was fighting through it. And he made the comment, and I may not do it justification on the wording, but he said, if you're going to make them out. Don't play around with them. You're only making them stronger by doing that. So what he meant is, like, when we want to get our dogs to out and we start adding stem, we are only at, a little less, either a quarter to a half. And if that don't work, we go up to half. And if that don't work, we go up to 3/4. And by the time we get to the full amount of it, the dog's already conditioned himself just to fight through it and harder and harder and harder. And when he said that, it made complete sense to me, because I've done this. I've made this mistake probably with several dogs. And I'm like, okay, so I need to be more, clear on this. And I was thinking about us and, some of the things that we do when we do extinction training, because extinction training was a term that was used in several classes. Andy Weirman's class, I know he talked about it in both of his classes. So extinction training is when I do not want the dog to do that behavior at all. And I don't want to tell people wrong, but if you don't want the dog to do something, it should be a negative punishment where the dog doesn't want to do it at all. And when he was talking about the bite and just making them stronger by going little baby steps at a time, it kind of made me step back and look at some of my training techniques and some of the stuff that I do. So I haven't figured out where I'm going with that yet, like how I'm going to implement it, or, what I'm going to do. So if your dog's in drive, for you hound guys, let me put this in terms for you guys. If the dog's in drive, then we know we've got to enforce that a whole lot harder. If the dog's not in drive, then it's not half as hard to take care of the problem. But most of the time our dogs are in drive when we're trying to correct a behavior, i.e., they're running that coyote, for us bear dog guys, not you coyote dog. They're running that deer. They're running something we don't want to, and they've already got it. They're already running it. But in my mind, I'm still thinking, okay, well, if you don't catch them in that first a couple of seconds that they start it, and they're already into it for 30 minutes or an hour, how effective is that? So I'm going to have a conversation with Justin just to kind of, clarify things for me and make me have a better understanding. But that was something that I spent a lot of thought on. Like when he said that, I got to thinking about breaking some things down that I do, how I do things, and it just changed it. It just gave me a different perspective. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of what we've been doing. That's about all I got today, guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. This will be a good grocery store or gas station podcast. Time you get to the grocery store or the gas station, it'll be over with. So hope you guys enjoy. Have good luck in the woods. We'll catch you the next time. Do you like to be outdoors like I do? If so, unlock the wilderness with OnX Maps. It is your ultimate guide to exploring, hunting, and conquering the great outdoors. With detailed maps, real-time tracking, and exclusive access to public and private lands, OnX Maps is your key to adventure. Discover the possibilities and never get lost again with OnX. So subscribe today using the promo code K920. Letter K, number 9, 20, and know where you stand.